What's up, guys? Readiness Reviews back with you again. Time again for a military surplus rifle unboxing. This box that we have here today is actually fairly thin for a rifle, but it is extremely long. I guess I'm just a glutton for punishment because I have once again picked up a firearm from Royal Tiger Imports. Of course, Royal Tiger Imports is known for the quality of their firearms not being the best, but they do offer very specific firearms that you really can't find anywhere else in the market at the moment. So it is what it is. No sense in waiting around. Let's go ahead and cut into this box and see what we have today. Looks like we have a lot of bubble wrap. Wow, there's a lot of bubble wrap on this. And tape too? Check this out, the inside of the box actually has another cardboard sleeve, so it's double protected. Maybe RTI has listened to some of the criticism they've had recently and upped their packing game. I'm gonna say this is the best packed rifle I've had from them so far. I've had ones before that were just wrapped in one single layer of bubble wrap with no tape or anything. This is taped on both ends, and there's a lot of packing material around it on the butt end here, so it should be well protected. Work on cutting some of this off. Now, let's see if we can finally pull the rifle out of here. Looks like the bolt is still in here. I do prefer the bolt to be shipped separately, but that's not too bad. All right, well, there it is. A lot of you will have noticed right away that we have a Mannlicher straight pull rifle, and there we are, free of the bubble wrap. Well, let's see what we actually received here. It is a Steyr M95. There is no S marking on the barrel here. It has not been updated to the 8x56 cartridge. This is in the original 8x50R. The wood on this rifle is very pretty. Now it is dirty and it shows a lot of surface wear. It's dinged up. It has some nicks and stuff in it. We'll look at that a little bit closer as we go along, but look at the wood grain. It's very pretty wood grain. This would clean up and refinish to be a beautiful rifle. Of course, I'm not going to refinish it. I'm only going to clean it. Look at the grain in that wood. That is something special. Just like my M91 Carcano, almost all the bluing has been rubbed off the metal surfaces. We have a pretty substantial crack in this front handguard here. You can see it giving to pressure. Judging by the nature of that crack though, I think I can glue that up fairly easily. And here's our barrel band, bayonet lug, stacking rod. There's the Inner Ordnance import stamp. Sort of an interesting add-on to this one is some odd little piece of fabric hanging from the middle barrel band here. It appears to be some kind of floral pattern. Never really seen anything like that on a rifle before. With these rifles coming out of Africa, you never know what you're really gonna find. Right away, I noticed something that's a little bit disappointing, and that's our rear sight ladder here is missing the slider. So that's really gonna mess with our point of impact, even shooting at the lowest setting here. That's probably gonna be a fairly difficult part to source as well. On our rear sling swivel, we have a little piece of that same fabric, so at some point that fabric did connect to create a makeshift sling. We're missing a big chunk of wood down here on the butt. In the toe area of the stock, it's sort of been knocked out. It's such a clean braid that almost looks like it was cut out though, which is kind of odd. And judging by my hands, needless to say, this is a pretty dirty rifle. Let's open this action up. So there's some little bit of rust on the bolt here. It looks like someone has put some oil on it recently. I don't know if RTI did that or if it came that way from Africa. It does lock into place though. It's actually fairly smooth for as dirty as it is. That's a little bit surprising. That's kind of the hallmark of these M95 rifles, is the straight pull action. Instead of it being a standard bolt action, it is straight back and straight forward. See if that safety works. Flip that up. Ooh, that is a weird feeling trigger, but the safety does stop it. Let's see if that hammer does fall if we pull the trigger. There it is, it fires. That trigger though is the mushiest feeling trigger I think I've ever felt. It feels like there is a glob of dirt or grease or something inside of there that I'm really gonna have to get in there and clean. So why did I purchase this rifle? Well, I've wanted a M95 long rifle for my collection for a long time. I've had a carbine in my collection for many years, but the rifles have always eluded me. I wanted one in the original cartridge. I did not want an updated rifle. That is what RTI was offering. And I've had my eye on these Royal Tiger Imports for a while, but they were like 400 bucks. And in my opinion, that's a little bit too much money to completely chance for a rifle that might be in really bad condition. Last week though, Royal Tiger Imports had a price reduction on these rifles. They ran out like a one-day flash sale for 300 bucks, and that's when I picked this one up. I think it's about time we go over a little bit of the history on these very interesting and cool rifles. In English, this rifle is officially the Infantry Repeating Rifle M95, aka a Mannlicher M1895 rifle. The M95 is the finalized iteration of the straight pull bolt action designed by Ferdinand von Mannlicher. Von Mannlicher is most well known for his clip loading system, which would be used in various rifles all over the world. We've looked at several of those on the channel before, the M-block clips. Of course, all the Carcanos use M-block clips. Berthier French rifles use them. Even the M1 Garand uses an M-block clip. So Ferdinand designed the M-block clip, but he was also one of the great firearms designers of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The 1895 rifle was the standard infantry arm of the Austro-Hungarian Empire during World War I. They were produced by both OWEG in Steyr, Austria, and FEG in Hungary. Steyr began production in 1896 and continued until 1918 and the end of the Great War. FEG produced the rifles from 1897 through the end of World War I. Kind of post-war, Czechoslovakia produced some of the rifles as well in their Brno factory. Those were produced from 1918 till 1920. Of course, World War I didn't go so well for the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and after their defeat at the hands of the Entente forces, Austria and Hungary were forced to hand over loads of these rifles to various countries as war reparations. So these rifles would end up seeing use all over the world. After the war, Italy had a ton of these rifles. They received them both as war reparations, and they captured a lot of rifles during the conflict. When Italian expansion into and colonization of East Africa started, following the fascist takeover of the Italian government, many of these rifles came along. Fascist Italy invaded and conquered Abyssinia, modern-day Ethiopia, and merged it along with Somalia and Eritrea to create Italian East Africa, also known as the abbreviation AOI. Many M95 rifles were marked with AOI on the stock and were used by both Italian and colonial troops in Africa during World War II. After Italian capitulation in World War II and abandonment of their African colonies, many of these rifles were left behind. The British actually captured a lot of them and issued them all around the world to the rest of the British Empire. There was actually a good portion of these rifles that went on to be used as training rifles in India. But a lot of these rifles remained in Africa and were used by Ethiopia and other various African nations for decades to come. There's been reports of these rifles seen in action all the way up until like 1990. As I talked about earlier in the video, the 1895 Mannlicher rifle was originally developed for the 8x50mm rimmed cartridge. The 8x50 cartridge used a round-nosed bullet and had a muzzle velocity of only like 2,000 feet a second. That cartridge was used by the Austro-Hungarian Empire throughout World War I, but in the interwar years, the vast majority of M95 rifles were updated to the 8x56mm rim cartridge, which used a Spitzer pointed bullet and had a higher muzzle velocity. The rifles that Italy received post-war, however, were never converted to the new cartridge. So all of the rifles that they brought to Africa post-war were still chambered in the original 8x50mm bottlenose cartridge, and that is what we have before us here. Now let's see if we have that AOI mark on our stock, because we do know this rifle came to Africa from Italy. Unfortunately, it looks like the AOI on mine has been rubbed off. It would have been stamped right here towards the butt end originally. You can see the indentation where it would have been at. It's very faint. You can slightly make out the remnants of an A and an O and an I, but it is extremely faint, and if you didn't know what you were looking for, you probably wouldn't even know it was there. These rifles were used in both world wars. Of course, they were used by the Austro-Hungarian Empire in World War I, and they were used by Italy and actually quite a few other countries, including both Austria and Hungary and several other European countries in World War II. However, most of those countries were using the updated cartridge that we talked about. This is a fairly light rifle to be a full-size long rifle the way that it is. It's only 8.3 pounds. Overall length is long at 50 inches. The barrel length is about 30 inches. It's fed with a 5-round M-block clip, and over the production run of these rifles, millions of them were made. I couldn't find specific numbers for rifles only, but I believe that number is thought to be over 2 million. One thing that Royal Tiger Imports rifles are pretty notorious for is having pretty bad bores. I know that the Carcano I got from them is really rough. I got lucky with my infield. Those rifles that have been over in Africa, I mean, they've been used for a century. They've been shot with corrosive ammo and not cleaned properly, and so it's not surprising that the bore condition on these rifles is not that great. I'm not expecting much with this one, but let's go ahead and check the bore out and see what we got. So from what I just saw, that bore is looking rough. I will be posting video of both before and after cleaning. The before is not looking good. There's a lot of rust in there. The rifling is intact, which is good. I mean, I know a lot of the rifling in my Carcano wasn't actually there, but the rifling seemed to be pretty worn away right towards the muzzle, which is actually the most important part of the rifle for accuracy. Now I have one of the 8x56 bullets here, and we'll do a quick bullet test to see how far down the muzzle it will go. And it does stop right where it should. However, this is not an 8x50 cartridge. I'm not sure if the diameter on this bullet is 100% identical to what it should be for the cartridge this rifle actually shoots. This clip is one of those very characteristic Mannlicher style clips. This one is actually a German clip. There's a Waffenknopf on it there. And the ammo that I have in this clip is 8x56, not 8x50. Unfortunately, the 8x50 ammunition that this rifle uses is pretty much unicorn ammo. It is nearly impossible to find. In the past couple years, I've only seen it at a gun show once, and I did not buy it because I didn't have the rifle yet. That's a big mistake. Learn from my mistakes. If you're into collecting and you run across either a bayonet, a sling, or ammo for a rifle that you don't have but one day may want to own, go ahead and preemptively buy it. Even if you don't have the rifle, you will not regret it later on. But the clips that this uses are virtually identical. Of course, that whole clip fits down to the action, just like we talked about on all of our Carcanos and all your other Mannlicher style systems. There's a spring on the inside of your magazine box here that gives tension to the rounds so they can be pushed in by the bolt. And when all the rounds are expelled, the clip falls out of the bottom there. So I have some really mixed feelings about this one. I'm actually blown away by how pretty the pattern on this wood is. I mean, it is absolutely gorgeous. It's extremely dirty, but I think this is gonna clean up outstandingly well and look very good. So I really am happy about that. But the overall wear on the rifle seems to be pretty heavy. All of our markings are quite worn. This barrel band is a mess. Look at these screws. This one is completely stripped out. I don't know what they did to this one, but that screw is not supposed to look like that. I mean, look at that V. I don't even know how I'm going to be able to take that off properly to clean this thing. I'm missing one of my hangers for the actual sling swivel. Same story with this screw here. It's completely done. I mean, it's probably been taken apart a million times. But for what this rifle's been through, the overall condition isn't all that bad. Not really. Bluing's about gone in most places, but it's pretty much what I expected for 300 bucks. If I happen to run across another M95 in the future at a gun show or something that wasn't one of these from Africa, and maybe it was updated to the 8x56 cartridge, I'd pick that up too, just to have a collection of both. But I specifically wanted one of these African ones in my collection because it's a very specific historical piece into itself. Of course, the condition isn't that great, but I don't really care because there's not really another way to get an AOI M95 Mannlicher other than going through Royal Tiger Imports at the moment. Being in the original cartridge is both a blessing and a curse. It's good for collector purposes. You want the rifle as original as possible. It's bad for shooter purposes because the ammo is nearly impossible to find. But hey, for 300 bucks, I don't think I did too bad. And at least Royal Tiger Imports is packing the rifles like they should now. Well, that was the video, guys. Hopefully you learned something in this video. Let me know what you thought about the video, and more specifically the rifle, down in the comments. If you noticed something about this rifle that I didn't talk about in the video, please let me know. If you liked the video, hit that thumbs up. That helps me with the Google algorithm. And if you know someone else that you think would enjoy this video, please share it because that's the best way to grow the channel. If you want to see more firearms related content like this in the future, sub to the channel because I will have more videos incoming. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I truly appreciate each and every view, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. See you then. Peace.